Good morning, students. Today, in the class 9, we would discussing the chapter 3 of political science. The chapter 3 of political science is constitutional design. What does the constitutional design mean? Actually, it is a matter that is after the making of the constitution. When the constitutions makers are making the constitutions, they try to provide all those things which gives us more equality, more freedom and more dignity to the peoples. That is a constitutional design. If we see the constitutions is written, all the countries has taken the help of the other constitutions of the world. They have taken the help. Indian constitution also has taken it. If we take in the form of the size, then we find that Indian constitution is the largest written constitution in the world. Largest written constitution, if we say it is Indian constitution, and if you ask them which one would be the smallest written constitution, then we would find the constitution of Monaco. Monaco is the country which is a little bit bigger than the Vatican City. It means we can say it is the second smallest country in the world. As far as to compare it, by the wording we can find it that Indian constitution has almost 1,45,000 words in comparison to the constitution of Monaco has only 38,000 words. This simply shows that Indian constitution is the largest one and the constitution of Monaco is the smallest one. It is a written constitution. Written constitution simply means that if we want to have the copy of it, we can get it from the market. We can get the copy of the constitution from the market. Now, while the chapter has taken the constitutional design in which we have taken the example of the two countries. One, it is the example of India. Another one, it is example of South Africa. Why we have taken the example of these two countries? The first reason, the Constitution of India means our constitution is the largest constitution in the world. And why the South Africa, why not other countries? Because South African constitution is one of the newest constitution. It has recently been made. It was implemented in 1997, came into force on 1997. It was adopted in 1996, but came into force in the 1997. It is one of the ideal constitutions of the world. We will discuss regarding it later on. Why it is the ideal constitution? Simply it has become the ideal constitution of the world because both the rulers and the ruled sit together to draw out the constitution. It is very much different from the Constitution of India. In Indian constitutions, peoples of India had drafted the constitution for the Indian peoples only. But in South Africa, the peoples had drafted the constitution for both the blacks and white, the oppressor and the oppressed. It means we have got the constitution, but we have to go and make the study. Before making the study, we have some little idea about the South Africa. Was the South Africa a colony like India? Yes, South Africa was a colony. South Africa became a colony in 1652 under the Dutch power. You may remembering that Dutch also came to India after the Portuguese. The another power which came to India was the Dutch. 1652 it became the colony of the Dutch. Then it continued till you can say 1650 to 1795. It was means South Africa was the colony of Dutch. Then in 1795 it came the British, but it could not hold for the long time. It had to again surrender this territory to the Dutch, but lastly from 1806 onward, UK became the colonial power of South Africa. After 1806, it was the UK which became the colonial power of South Africa. And we know that when the colony has been established, they try to extract as much possible from the colony. South Africa is the southern parts of the Africa, and you know that Africa is the only continent through which all the three imaginary lines, that is the Tropic of Cancer, Equator and Tropic of Capricorn passes. It is a dense forested area. So peoples from the other countries also migrated to this. If this segregated, it can be divided into three groups. Which are the peoples of the three groups? The peoples of three groups, one was the blacks. It constitutes around 76% of the population of the South Africa. Who were the blacks? Actually, blacks were the original inhabitant of the South Africa. जो वहाँ के मूल निवासी थे, उनके स्किन का कलर डार्क था, ब्लैक था. That's why they were called the blacks. Then another one, that is the white. Around 10%, today's population says around 10% they are there. Who were the white? The colonial power who settled this, or UK peoples from the UK, they were called the white. Then there was another group also, that was called the colored. Who were the colored? It was, can I say, it was the mixed community, not a single community. Mixed community, mixed origins. That means peoples from the different sections, multi-racial community. In other words, we can say it was the multi-racial community. It developed after the inter-racial marriage, not intercaste. We can say it was the interracial marriage. People from the Spain, even the Germany, even the original inhabitant of the South Africa, these all had interrelations, intermarriage relations, interracial marriage relations. A new community develops. It was a mixed race. It also includes the Indians. The color of the skin of the Indian, we cannot say it is the white. It is the peoples who says the Indians or Asian peoples, not Indians, Asian peoples. If they are saying that they are white, it means if you see their color of their skin, you will find that is not the white, actually that is the yellow, light yellow in color. Color of the skin is yellow, not the white. You can easily compare the color of the skin of the Australian peoples, people from the Germany, peoples from the England, means European peoples, with the Asian peoples. If the Asian peoples say that I am the white complexion, it is not the white complexions, they are yellowish complexions. So Indians were also kept under the colored peoples. Now these three groups were there, it also constitute 10 to 11%. We can say 10 to 11% of the population of the South Africa. Now, what were the conditions of the blacks and the colored? These two were kept at one place. And these white peoples, they were considering that they are racially, they are backward, means inferiors. So they started the segregation policy. What were the segregation policy? The segregation policy was that the each and everything for the blacks as well as the white were completely separated. Whether it is a bus, whether it is the playground to play, whether it is a train, whether it is a restaurant, whether it is beaches, whether it is a hospital, whether it is a school, every public places, everywhere where we sign that can be approached that were separate for the white and the black plus colored peoples. More discriminations was against the colored peoples and black peoples. What were the another type of discriminations? The black who were actually the original inhabitant of the South Africa, they were not permitted to live in the area which was confined for the white peoples only. वो वहाँ नहीं रह सकते थे. इलाका जो कन्फाइन था किसके लिए? व्हाइट के लिए. वहाँ ब्लैक नहीं रह सकते. Secondly, the blacks were not allowed to work in the white areas. They could do it only if they have the permission to do. अगर उनको परमिशन है तभी व्हाइट एरिया में जा सकते थे, अदरवाइज नहीं. स्कूल बता दिए सेपरेट था, ब्लैक के लिए अलग स्कूल, व्हाइट के लिए अलग स्कूल. देन रेलवे में भी कंपार्टमेंट were also reserved for the whites and the blacks. These were the segregation policy. The racial government or colonial power in UK had made this discrimination so hard that its effect we had seen in the history of cricket also. South Africa, who had been playing the cricket even quite early, they were banned by ICC, International Cricket Council, in 1970 for the racial discriminations done by the ruling groups. ये रेशियल क्रिकेट में रेशियल डिस्क्रिमिनेशन क्या था? क्रिकेट में रेशियल डिस्क्रिमिनेशन था that government had made the law in such a way that the South Africa were playing cricket with the white countries only, England, New Zealand and Australia, not than the other countries. वो जो क्रिकेट खेलते थे वो सिर्फ 3 ही कंट्री से क्रिकेट खेलते थे, बाकी कंट्री से नहीं. और जो प्लेयर हुआ करते थे all were the white players, not the black players. In today's scenario, we see the team of the South Africa, hardly you can get 1 or 2 they are black players, ऐसा नहीं है कि साउथ अफ्रीका में blacks are not good in playing cricket, but still I do feel might have been discontinued to these policies that blacks are getting less chance to play in the South African teams. They are playing, they are being selected, but their number as compared to their population in the South Africa is negligible, because it shows that the populations of the blacks are 76% and the color are 10%. If we did just add it, it becomes around 86 to 87%, but the percentage in the cricket team, it is hardly less. They are only out of 15 members team, maybe 1 or 2 were black kickers or colored. That segregations that we have kept. Now the question comes, who should be given the credit for it? For this one, we have to discuss about regarding the two leaders. Who are the two leaders? In this one, we would discuss the two leaders. Can you guess who may be the two leaders? One is from India and one is from the South Africa. One leader is from India, another leader is from South Africa. In India, we say it is Gandhiji, means M.K. Gandhi. And if we talk about the South Africa, it will be Nelson Mandela. We have to talk about the two one is the Gandhiji, another one was the Nelson Mandela. First we talk about the Gandhiji. Gandhiji, after completing his education in the England, came back to India for the practice. He tried to settle in the Bombay. At that time, his feeling was he is the British first, because he has got his education in the British. But it was difficult for him to carry out the law practice in India, because due to his physique it was difficult for him to integrate the criminals. That's why he was writing the litigations applications. But his fortune turned. In 1893, he was connected by a Muslim merchant of Kathiawar. Kathiawar कहाँ है? गुजरात में. Who had a big ship business in the South Africa. His name was Dada Abdullah. क्या नाम था उनका? Muslim businessman when he was in 1893. His cousin, who had a business in the South Africa, was in the need of a lawyer. उनको एक lawyer की जरूरत थी. But he has some position in his mind that lawyer should be from the Kathiawar background, Kathiawar culture, क्योंकि he himself was from the Kathiawar. So Mahatma Gandhi was offered and he went to South Africa. And both were from the Kathiawar. Gandhiji accepted the offer. He went there. The medicines really were very good. He thought that he would complete the work within 1 year. But as soon as he simply landed in the South Africa, he had to face many discriminations. Many times he had to face क्या face करना पड़ा. One time he was suddenly kicked down in the drain. एक गंदे नाले में उनको धक्का देके गिरा दिया गया था. He was not allowed to walk on the pavement because it was reserved for the white. The very story that all the people know that even he had purchasing the tickets for the first class, he was not allowed to sit in the compartment and he was thrown from the running train. वो मैरिट्सबर्ग स्टेशन पे उनको थ्रो कर दिया गया था. वहाँ उनकी भी आज स्टेचू बनी हुई, लगी हुई, रखी हुई है. He is being worshipped as a leader. He was not willing to join, but he had a keen interest to support the Indians. But later on, he just increased it and joined the Indians as well as the blacks also, colored also, in his movement. In 1906, that can say it is important for Indian history also, that we see सत्याग्रह. सत्याग्रह का स्टार्टिंग जो उनकी फर्स्ट प्रैक्टिस थी, इट वाज इन द साउथ अफ्रीका इन 1906. उनकी फर्स्ट प्रैक्टिस थी. वो कब हुआ था? 1906 में. कहाँ? साउथ अफ्रीका में. सत्याग्रह वर्ड हम लोग को पढ़ने को मिलेगा. When you go to the higher classes in class 10, you will have to face this word because we have to go through the nationalism in India where we will find the word सत्याग्रह. तो आपको ओरिजिन होना चाहिए कि सत्याग्रह वर्ड सबसे पहले महात्मा गांधी ने कब यूज किया था? तो महात्मा गांधी ने 1906 में. कहाँ? साउथ अफ्रीका में यूज किया था. He had met a group. He was also sent to the jail for 3 months. जेल भी गए हुए वहाँ साउथ अफ्रीका में, यानी कि इंडिया में जेल गए थे. It means we can say he politically motivated the people of South Africa from 1894 to 1914. 1894 to 1914 because in 1914 the First World War started and he had returned to India on 5th January 1950. That's why his political achievement in the South Africa was from 1894 to 1914. It means he had laid a foundation for the racial discriminations. Means he had launched a movement against the racial discrimination. Now, the another important peoples. Who were the another important peoples? He was the Nelson Mandela. Before it, एक वर्ड आएगा ANC. It is African National Congress. Even though it was established in 1912, 1912 में. नेल्सन मंडेला का जन्म 1918 में हुआ था. इनके जन्म से पहले. Even though, but it was legalized in 1990 itself because the blacks had no right to form any associations, go for strike and other activities. They were completely banned. So these organizations was also not legally accepted there. Nelson Mandela, we can say he was the first black elected president of the South Africa. He was the 11th president of ANC के 11th and first president. How? He tried to go against the racial discriminations imposed by the British colonial government. क्या किया उसने? Nelson Mandela had organized many campaigns. Among them, he had gone for a overthrowing the government. In 1962. In 1962, he tried to throw out the government of the South Africa, the provinces or not the provinces. He was arrested and he was charged with the treason. He was not alone. With his 7 of the partners who were sentenced to jail. 1962 to 1964. 1962 to 1964, he had to go for many trials. And in 1964, he was sent to jail for the life imprisonment. And it is said he remained in the jail for 27 to 28 years. Actually, he remained in the jail for 27 years. And for these 27 years, he had to go for 3 jails. One was if you can say he had to go in the 3 jails. ये जो 27 to 28 years का life he had to spend because he had just sent to jail in 1964 and he was released in 1990 under the pressure from the international community. That's why somewhere 90 के लास्ट में हुआ, कोई इसको 91 मान लेते हैं. That's why the reasons comes either it is 27 years or 28 years. Actually, he remained in the jail for exactly 27 years, few months. Out of this, whatever he spent in the jail, in which he spent 18 years in the most dreaded jail of the South Africa, it was the Robben Island. It was one of the most dreaded jail of the South Africa, Robben Island, where he spent 18 years. Then he was shifted to Portsmouth prison. वहां भी कुछ समय रहे. उसके बाद फिर उनको शिफ्ट कर दिया गया. इट वॉज विक्टर वर्स्टर प्रिजन. यहाँ सिक्योरिटी कम थी, सबसे ज्यादा टाइट सिक्योरिटी, बिकॉज एट दैट टाइम द colonial government was thinking that it is this person is the more threat to their rule in South Africa. अकेले नहीं थे, 7 लोग और थे. यहाँ के बाद शिफ्ट किया गया था कहाँ को? पोर्ट्समाउथ प्रिजन. उसके बाद शिफ्ट कहाँ गया था? विक्टर वर्स्टर प्रिजन. वहाँ भी लास्ट टाइम है. He was released from the jail because under the community of the international community, he was released from the jail. When he was released from the jail, all the path were set for the independence of the South Africa. And if the country is becoming the free, it means we can say it must have its constitution. We will discuss when we will take the example of India also. इंडिया में भी 1947 में इंडिया इंडिपेंडेंट हुआ था, लेकिन उसके पहले हमारा जो प्रोसीजर था वो स्टार्ट हो गया था 1946 से, और हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का कंप्लीशन 1949 में, इम्प्लीमेंटेशन 1950 में हुआ था. The same way, South Africa became independence in 1994, but it has the interim constitution from the 1993, and its constitution got completed in 1996, but it was implemented in 1997. Nelson Mandela became the first president of free South Africa in 1994. There he remained for till 1999. Now, in next one, we will discuss about the formation of the Constitution of South Africa and why the Constitution of South Africa is called one of the ideal constitution of the world.